Hello, everybody. I am very excited for today's conversation. Craft beer, it's all about relationship with your guests, your neighbors, with your brewing community, with your suppliers. However, we often don't talk about the value of building a relationship with your local government and tourism organizations. Today, our panel is going to discuss the value of engaging with your local government, strategies for mutual success, and how it can ultimately help solidify your brewery's position as a leader in your area. But first, let's meet all of our awesome panelists. We've got a packed panel today. And Leah, you are to the right of me, so you get to go first. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm Leah Rainis. I am currently the brewery operations manager at 12 Bones Brewing in Asheville, North Carolina.
Perfect. Thanks for being here, Leah. Meg, you're up.
Hi, I'm Meg McKenna. I'm the Senior Director of the Partnership Department at Visit Milwaukee. We are looking forward to hosting some of you next year. And I've been here for 11 years, but I've also been an entrepreneur, which I think plays into how I relate to breweries and other businesses that are out in our community.
Yeah, we had a fantastic call last week discussing our Milwaukee workshop, so it was only serendipitous we have you join us today. Seth, long time no see.
Hey there. Hi, I'm Seth Morgan. I'm the owner operator at Denton County Brewing Company. I'm also the brewer, and I joke that I'm the head janitor, as you know how it is being in the brewing business. We've been open for about 5.5 years. And Andrew, yeah, thanks for having us. I'm excited.
Thanks for being here, Seth. Lucious, your turn.
My name is Lucious Wilson. I'm the general manager of the Wedge Brewing Company in Asheville, North Carolina.
It's been too long since I've been to Asheville. I need to come visit soon.
Do it.
I know lots of head nods going on right now. Tranice, well, you have two missions right now. First, introduce yourself, please, but also describe that awesome mural in your background.
Well, my name is Trey Watts, and I am one of the co-owners of the Patuxent Brewing Company. I was appointed as co-chair of Charles County's Business Outreach Program, and I am co-founder of Lifting Lucy. And this picture behind me just gives me some energy, gives me some good vibes in life.
Great colors going on there. I love the purple.
Thank you.
Andrea, your turn.
Sure. I'm Andrea Arnold. I'm the Chief Public Affairs Officer for the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation. So our mission is to market the city of Nashville globally and to work with all of our tourism assets, in-town restaurants, attractions, hotels, really anybody who has a visitor as a guest, and to advocate on behalf of the impact of our industry on all levels of government.
Well, I appreciate you joining us today. I'm glad the folks over at Bearded Iris introduced us. So thanks again for being here, everybody. Now, Seth, you and I had an in-person conversation. It was at CBP Connects in Virginia that really sparked the idea for this panel. Can you describe to me your relationship with your government, local government and tourism board, and why it's an important partnership for you?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, it's interesting because my relationship with the city actually started off on an extremely negative note. We had a really hard time with the city. They didn't know how to work with breweries. We were the first one downtown. We had 84 inspections. They kept coming back to us and trying to figure out what we were. But, it actually lended itself to meeting a lot of people. And then after it was all done, we wanted to figure out a way to work together. And I got to know a lot of people with the city and said, let's mend some fences. We have to work together. And Meg, you said it earlier, if you have an attitude of yes, and really trying to focus on what is going to rise the tide for all boats. And that was the focus. And one of my key initial responses was beer tourism is so big. So I did get connected with our CBB, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and tried to figure out how to market beer in an environment that didn't really understand or know how to market beer, and made some good friends, ended up getting on the board. Then I got on the chamber board. I got on the Main Street board. And it's really turned into a very solid win-win relationship. So not always looking to do something that's going to get an immediate return or that is, simply a win for me, but really focusing on a win for us, the brewery, but also the city. So we do a lot of pro bono stuff for them. I'm actually, I live in North Texas above Dallas. I'm out in West Texas in El Paso right now at a CBB convention, and I'm helping our CBB board. So I'm dedicating my time and money to make sure that they're successful. And it's really about, finding, someone you can partner with so everyone wins, and it builds credibility. it really helps, build a relationship and people think about us. And now it's a very positive relationship. So even if it starts off a little rocky, don't give up.
No, Seth, we talk a lot. I mean, obviously beer tourism is a big thing, but education is also a huge component in craft beer, educating the consumers. But what was your relationship like when you first engaged with the city about educating them the value of craft breweries in the area?
Well, that's an interesting question because they almost wanted to keep arm's length away because it's alcohol, and there's a little bit of a stigma with that. And we tried to, say this is not like a college bar where people are coming in, and we're not, serving, massive amounts of alcohol to minors. But we really focused on it being a place where families can come, and we give our place for free to city events. And then we started this conversation about building a beer that we could utilize to bring money back to our parks department is something else we did. Our area is really known for wheat production. So we started utilizing wheat that was grown locally by local farmers, and we take some of the profits for that beer, and that goes back to the Parks Foundation. So when we started talking more about how can we do something where everybody wins, it became very positive. And that was the approach. It wasn't like, okay, what can I do to, further the reach or the marketing scope of the brewery, but what can we do together to be successful? And that was really the key, I think, is having that conversation. And they perked up like, oh, wait a minute, there's something in this for everyone. And I think that's where it really started.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. Tranice, now, in addition to being a co-owner at a brewery, you're the co-chair of the Business Outreach Committee in Charles County, Maryland. What exactly do you do there, and how does it impact the lens that you wear as a brewery owner?
Well, I essentially try to talk to any single person who's considering becoming an entrepreneur, whether that means they're just starting, they're just getting their feet wet, or if they have an existing business and really need to kind of rev up their production or marketing, whatever it may be. So just really wandering around the county, looking for those little tiny mom and pop places, looking for the larger places, and just picking their brain as much as possible, finding out, if this is their long-term goals, what are their dreams, short-term versus long-term, that we can help them with. And then really just kind of instilling confidence in them, because a lot of them, I think that the economic development boards might be out of their reach. Local government may not want to speak with them, but that could be farthest from the truth. They really are looking for people to just proactively come and talk with them, let them know what they need, because they're always looking for ideas. There's still a lot of ARPA money left. It's the end of the year. It has to be used up. So they're always looking for some type of innovation or some fun event or whatever it may be that can help their city, but also help their tourism as well. So really building confidence in people to, hey, apply for this program. Even if you don't think that you meet the eligibility requirements, just go for it anyway, because 9 times out of 10, if they find that you're passionate about what you do and that you're serious about what you do, they'll be all for it. And so that's really my goal when it came to being a part of that outreach, just really instilling confidence in people who wanted to progress.
Now, you mentioned that there's money available. Talk to me about this money. Brewery owners like money right now. So, what types of city money is available for brewery owners to, apply for?
Well, it's the same. I think me and Seth had a lot of the same stories. It's that mutual beneficiary thing. So, for instance, if you decide that you, again, want to help Park Foundation, or there's, some type of national, or if there's a national river or something that's sacred to that area, historical sites, there's all types of things that you really can work with them for to make your beer that they will help pay for. But again, it's also beneficial in raising awareness of something in that area, whether it be environmental, agricultural, or whatever. But there's also a lot of tax incentives. I think me and Seth, again, had the same story. I didn't really reach out to them first and foremost. It was kind of like, whoa, why are you keep coming in here for the same issues, looking over the same things? But after that, you just see that there's so much, there's fast tracking. So if you do the diligence and get with them before you start breaking ground on anything, they can help you find the right zoning areas. They can tell you all about the work opportunity credits. So there's loads of people out there who are on, they have social service assistance. So if they have food stamps, if they're getting cash assistance, if they're getting medical assistance, you can get anywhere up to $4,500, to $9,000 in reimbursement during your tax season for those people, just because you're helping them get back into the game and kind of, increase their upward mobility as well. But there's also like $2,500 reimbursements in Milwaukee, places in Virginia as well for apprenticeships. So if you wanted to do an apprenticeship and help someone out, again, mutually beneficial. You're teaching them, but you can also get that money back as well, so you're not coming completely out of pocket. But again, I would just say, please call them. If you email your local government and you didn't hear from them, 9 times out of 10, they're very small, but they're doing a lot of things. Call them, go see them, and let them know what you're thinking about, and they can write some checks. They can cut checks as well. But again, it has to be beneficial.
You gave a fantastic talk, a co-talk with Dave at the recent CBP Connects Virginia, just about diversifying your workforce. So if anyone's interested in reaching out to you directly, I want to give you that opportunity to plug your contact right now, because you have so much insight to offer.
Yeah, I get a little excited talking about that, but yeah, please do. You can reach out to me. I'm on IG under Trey Kind, I think, and you can always reach out to us at contact@liftinglucy.org. We're happy to help. A huge thing again for women in particular and single dads and parents is childcare. There are a lot of cities, including Wisconsin, as far as a state, that will help with childcare. So there's like almost $100,000 up to microloans that you can apply for. And it's not just for childcare centers. You could actually build something, connect that to your brewery for the people that work there. So there's a lot of things that you can do. Please reach out to me if you have questions on how to do it.
Now, Meg, it's your turn, because Trey is giving you 2 shout outs to the wonderful state of Wisconsin. And you and I, we really just connected just a couple of days ago. And I reached out to your local tourism board about Craft Beer Professionals coming there in June of 2023. I was interested in building a relationship with you all, and several brewery owners had suggested I have to speak with you. So I knew I had to set up that call. And I was so impressed by all the offerings you provide. Everything you help with regard to press releases, securing room blocks, providing restaurant recommendations. I'd love to learn a little bit more about your relationship with Visit Milwaukee with breweries.
Well, so I've been here for 11 years. Well, first of all, we got to say we're Milwaukee. So we've always had a tourism relationship with beer. Like we've got the bones in the graveyard. We've got Miller, we've got Pabst, we've got that has been a central feature of life in Milwaukee has been beer. I love the mention of it being a family-friendly activity. It is a family-friendly. The babies in the bars is like something we do here. Not really, but definitely beer gardens are a family-friendly event here in Milwaukee. And so with the craft movement, when it began back in the, I don't want to get it wrong, but I'm going to say the 80s, like 80, 85, 86. We've just been building on that. And for the length of time that I've been at Visit Milwaukee, it's just been a growing thing. We met with the craft brewers as there was that exponential growth that was happening in the 2000s, or I guess we go back to the 2000s, the aughts, I guess we call them. And we convened everybody who they were all convening anyway. We connected them up with products that we could be developing that moved tourists around better, things like beer maps and other tools. Now we've gone digital, and we've had a lot of success developing a digital beer pass, Brew City Beer Pass, that hopefully you guys will all be able to partake of when you come to Milwaukee. And we just made it, we just come in with the marketing advice of what's going to work from visitors. We know where our visitors are coming from. We've got all that research, all that marketing research. We know what works to move people around so that they can be experiencing and connecting with your brews. So it's just a buy one, get one for every craft brewery that's on our beer pass is a buy one, get one deal. Super simple. All the breweries agreed to that. I think the question was who pays for that. Obviously, the breweries have to come in and agree that they give one beer away for everyone they sell. By and large, we haven't had one complaint from a brewery saying anyone like that was a losing proposition for them. So that's our most successful tool that we have now. Yes, we do press release help for anybody. We have a very strong PR team. Just a little shout out that Milwaukee's very proud of being named one of 25 best places in the world by National Geographic last week. That's thanks in part to the strength of our PR team, which toured that writer and then got that writer to be so in love with Milwaukee that the writer advocated inside the rooms of National Geographic and got us on that list. Hope that's an experience that you guys have when you come. So we will assist any breweries in the area that have like a media idea or a media need. We will sit down and brainstorm with our partners. The beer pass has allowed us to pick up a ton of breweries. There are very few that aren't connected with us. We're an association, but our entry point is very, very low for the services that we offer. We just ask that the membership is really kind of consent and engagement. So like, that's where our prices are at. They're at a, give us your consent that you will actually, understand this is a two-way street, and engage that when we give you a call, we've got a writer in, we need you to call us back right away and prioritize our relationship. And then we'll just be this engine that just keeps driving. So that's just kind of, and then I would say a couple other things that I took notes on. So in Milwaukee, in terms of like the government, I think that having been on the entrepreneurial side of things at one point in my life, I think the one thing that really is helpful is someone mentioned it, the passion for what your product is. The passion will propel you into how you make those relationships. Curiosity about what it is that someone has in their bag of tools for you. I think it's really important to make certain that that people aren't against you. You got to maintain the attitude that everyone's trying to have their best day. Everyone's trying to do the best job. Sometimes I've encountered entrepreneurs, and I feel like I can say this because I've been on the other side of it. And I just warn people that most people are really competent at their job. And any hostility, you want to check yourself and make certain that you come in super open and passionate about your product. And I think that most people are inclined to open all the doors of what sort of funding would be available for you, what sort of services would be available for you. But I've had some smaller entrepreneurs come in and be a little hostile. We've got all the budget and we've got all the money and we're holding it back or not spending it appropriately. And so it goes a long way when you're just curious about what the other person does, realizes we're all trying to make our destination the best it can be, and that we all work it together. We all are a culture of yes. We just need to get there, and just don't perceive us hostily because we all have different backgrounds.
I love all that great insight, Meg, and huge congrats on being a top 25 destination by National Geographic. That's awesome. I looked it up. You're under their community section, which is super cool. And upon looking at that list, I saw that our other workshop location for 2023, Charleston, South Carolina, is on the list. So apparently we picked some cities National Geographic likes. But Meg, I do have to ask, on that tour you took the author from National Geographic, how many breweries did you stop at?
I'm sorry, I wasn't on the tour, so I can get that information and follow up with all of you with that. Beer tourism is a huge part of what we do. So it's highly likely that a couple were on that tour. I just wasn't the PR person who took the tour, and I didn't have her itinerary. So I
was just giving you a hard time on that one, but very cool.
And I was going to say, it's probably no accident that you're picking locales that are on the list, because doesn't beer make good communities? So there you go. The proof is right there.
That's very true. Now, Leah, you've been on both sides of it. You've worked with the Asheville Brewers Alliance formerly, and now you're on a brewery side. How has, your role with local government impacted your career?
That is a fantastic question. So I guess kind of tying it back to what both Seth and Tranice and a little bit Meg were talking about, being proactive can be huge. You come in and you introduce yourself to your local government officials or your local TDA, and you're not suddenly that person who's only reaching out to folks when you have to complain or ask for something. If you're on someone's radar, if opportunities like Tranice was talking about come up, you're likely to be one of the first people to communicate it to if they think that it benefits you or your constituents. And speaking specifically from my role on the Asheville Brewers Alliance, where I was working for more or less all of the breweries in Western North Carolina, being that point of contact that can then share that out with everyone else. Again, being proactive, I think it gives you accessibility or, a seat at the table without having to force your way into that. Asheville can't be the only place where the people enacting and enforcing legislation aren't necessarily informed about the goings on in our industry. And so it can be a little bit frustrating when somebody creates rules or laws governing what you're able to do as a business entity, without really having a fully informed opinion on how they came to that. Also, government entities often don't speak to each other in terms of what's going on. So being able to provide some additional context from, a non-hostile place, I think can be hugely impactful in getting the results that you want, and achieving common goals without, putting people out of business or destroying your water treatment plant or whatever the stakes may be. I also think, being a good steward of the community. If you own a brewery, you've got employees who live in those communities, you've got customers who live in those communities where you're operating, and understanding their needs and operating in such a way that you're not displacing people, or not making people who live in your community where your brewery is feel unwelcome, and just creating a safe and supportive environment for all. And knowing what's going on in the community in general, I think, is just super important to be a good business owner or operator.
Awesome. In your time in the beer industry, can you give an example of your relationship with the local government or the local tourism agency?
Yes, all of those things. So pretty early on in my time with the Asheville Brewers Alliance, our county's metropolitan sewerage district was revising their sewer use ordinance. So in the last 10 years, the number of breweries in Asheville, Buncombe County, Western North Carolina has blown up exponentially. I think, and Lucious might know better than me, back in 2013, we maybe had a dozen breweries. We're now up over 50 if you include taproom only facilities in Buncombe County, and even more than that if you look at all of Western North Carolina, which, as you can imagine, in aggregate can tax the infrastructure pretty heavily. And so MSD was regularly getting overwhelmed with the water treatment plant. And so their first revision of the sewer use ordinance was using brew house size as a metric versus actual output. And so we were able to pull together all of our brewery members who had a vested interest in the outcome of this into a town hall. We had one brewery who was like, listen, I'm operating a 30-barrel brew house at one facility that I'm doing 2 turns on 6 days a week, and one that I'm brewing on once a month. And you're telling me that you're going to have the same requirements for both of these systems. So we were successfully able to negotiate different parameters. Also, they were requiring everyone to have solid settling tanks. One of our members brought up that they have one, they haven't been able to get it serviced. And so it's just sitting there, and it's actually creating more problems than it's solving. So to be able to bring everybody into that room together to have that conversation in a civil way without a lot of animosity. There was some animosity because we're humans, but they were really receptive. We did a whole bunch of member education on this, and just having that conduit to remind people of that timeline, and triaging what needed to happen when, and just work together for something that doesn't destroy the wastewater treatment plant, but also doesn't put 20% of our breweries out of business at the expense of having to do that, was huge.
If I can add to that, you said something that was really interesting. Actually, Meg, you did as well. I think one thing I had to learn when I was going in and meeting with these people, and I started, ending up in these conversations, just kind of playing in traffic. I was so wrapped up with what was going on in my head. I didn't realize that everyone else is just as busy as I am. And to your point, Meg, once you get to know people, you realize, wow, you're really good at your job, and you are maxed out with your bandwidth too. So yeah, I think having that, knowing that everyone is busy and we're trying to find solutions, but also being very aware that, hey, you know what, everybody else may be having a bad day too, and we're just trying to have a good day. I think that was one of the biggest things that I think clicked in my head, saying, okay, we're all here for a common solution. So great comments. Sorry, I just had to add to that. That was really good.
No, I love it. No, Lucious, when Leah introduced us, you wear so many different hats in the world. It sounds like so many of them are based on building relationships with your local city and your neighbors. I'd love to hear a little bit more about you and the relationships you've built over time with the city.
Yeah, mostly as a facilitator, working at the Wedge, which already had a fairly community and political component to it. A lot of what we do is provide a venue for people to show up and have conversations. And so there's a lot of city and real estate. There's a lot of parts of the community that end up and have a beer, so you can see multiple different pieces of what's going on, which I think adds to that dedication. To add to Seth and Leah's point of showing up and working with it. With Asheville, a lot of people don't realize in North Carolina, municipalities, local municipalities work at the behest of the state government, which means that a lot of times the problems that you have are really with the state government and not the city government, but people put a lot of pressures on the city government to solve problems. A lot of times the only way you're going to know that is by being in the room and having those conversations and realizing how things work and kind of making sure that your agenda matches what is physically possible. I think a lot of times people have a problem and they don't really know how to solve it, and they're sometimes will ask the questions that it takes to really get a solution and move there. And I think also joining a city government committee is really important to establish relationships and really get your voice heard. A lot of times cities will really listen to people that are on the city committees because they realize that that's where they get their work done, and so they appreciate the impact and the time that people spent being on those cities. So yeah, a lot of what we try to do is just be a part of it. We just had the open spaces and affordable housing bond that got passed, and one of the members who was pushing for that called me and said, "Hey, can we have a reception at your place?" And we really try to be open to have as many different organizations who reach out to us at our facility so that we can foster the conversation. Certainly.
No, I love that. And, even in Milwaukee, we're actually going to be hosting a panel on building a relationship with these organizations. And, to say it again, I think building relationships with your local city in a positive manner, they're overlooked sometimes. You're so concerned about, other breweries, your guests, but it sounds like the benefit of partnering with your local city and tourism boards has huge value to breweries. I know.
Yeah, it's a time save. I mean, we do a lot of stuff with the tourism committee, and so they send a lot of business our way. And so, because it's a partnership and because, like I said, like knowing it, a lot of people don't know how our tourism committee works. And so in explaining it and understanding that and having that relationship, they work to send a lot of business our way, mainly because we try to put the message out there that this is an organization that has this amount of pot of money, and you can either utilize it or not utilize it, but that's what it's for. And stay away from the political component. The political component happens in a kind of a different forum. And I find when you are able to fight the right battles, you actually can be fairly critical. I was lucky enough to be on a homelessness committee. And I was very critical about the ways in which both the city and some of the committees were doing things. And the reason why was, because my voice is usually pretty reserved. So when I'm not reserved, people have a tendency to wonder why it is that I'm not being measured. And so then they were listening to the whys of whatever that is. And so I think when you have a measured approach, then when you do have a cause that you really need to fight, people listen to you.
There's so many different levels these relationships are valuable. Now, Andrea, I'd like to turn to you on this one. The team at Bearded Iris Brewing, they were so energetic about Visit Music City on a recent call that we had that I had to reach out to you. Can you please explain a little bit more about how you all are helping breweries?
Well, that's great. Thank you. First off, I do want to take a moment and just commend every single one of you on the call. I had made some notes last night, and every single thing that I would suggest to anyone for local advocacy and engagement, you guys are nailing it. So that's just congratulations. It does take the hard work of putting in that relationship building to be effective. But yes, Visit Music City, our whole reason for being is to market Nashville, to bring anyone here. And if it's, two people coming for a one-off vacation, or if you happen to be our local convention of 10,000 people coming in, we want you all. And we have a duty of care to make sure you feel welcome. And part of what has been so successful in Nashville has been the strength of our brand and our authenticity. And how that ties to breweries is we don't go out and say and make, everybody thinks a brand is a slogan, and it's not. We had to look left and right and say, what do we really have to offer someone that's unique, different, and we do better than anyone else in the world? And obviously our front door is music, but we also have to look at those businesses and assets that the community has that visitors would want to go to. And, breweries are absolutely part of that mix. It's fun, it's community building. It shows the part of the Music City story we own is the creative piece, and creativity translates into brewery and craft making, and as well as it does fashion and food and many others. So we've made that connection for visitors. And y'all all have been visitors to different places. We never forget that hat we wear of when we go to other cities. And yeah, you can go to the basic obvious places, but after the first day, you want to go where the locals go. You want to go where something cool and different is. And that's where I think spots like y'all's businesses really thrive. It's kind of neat. It's got a story. The owner's there. You can hear their story of why they got into the business, and that's what visitors like. So that's what we do, and we do a lot of engagement with our assets, our companies. We have a membership that's about 1,200 companies deep, and that is from the little local owned small entities all the way up to the biggest hotels. And we engage them constantly, not only in what we're doing with marketing and how they can participate, but also what do they need, and trying our best to not only connect with what we're doing, but get them to connect and cross-pollinate with one another. So I think I was really heartened to hear so many of you are joining with your chambers and your CBCs in your communities, because you know, the person you're sitting beside in that meeting, you guys may be able to pair up with that hotel down the street and come up with a marketing package. That's where the connection also means for business. And I did just want to add on to what everyone was saying. Like I said at the top of this, I think what you guys are doing are killing it when it comes to elected officials. But my day job is to advocate for our industry, and I obviously work with a lot of businesses who are doing that. And when you're new to that space, it can be a little nerve-wracking. You go into these formal, you know, these rooms, and there's formalities, and everything's streamed and on recording. And God help them, anybody asks you a question, you're at a mic, and you know, who knows? And then your neighbor will text and go, "Hey, I see you on that," and you're just like, "Oh my gosh," you know, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. But at the end of the day, the reason Parks and Rec was a great show and thrived is because it's not that far from the truth. These are just local people doing their jobs, and anything you can do to put yourselves in their shoes. I love what Lucious, you said about it's a lot of time, but putting yourself out there to serve on a board or committee is so important. Not only do you get that perspective of the city, but you really get to understand the big issues. And I think as business owners, when you're engaging, whether it be your mayor's office or your aldermen or council members, you know, you get a chance to if you engage them all throughout the time, not just when you have an issue, you're telling them that you're a resident of that community first, and you happen to be a business owner. And that's real important, that you care just as much about the homeless conversation, as Lucious pointed out, as you do about, you know, getting a permit on time or whatever it is that's important to you. And that's going to just build credibility. We are, our local council in Nashville meets all year round, twice a month, and there's always some big issue. And we have an absurdly large council. We have 40 members. That's a lot of people to engage with. One of the biggest local bodies in the country, I think. But, you know, following them on Twitter, seeing what's important, it just gives you credibility. Anytime you get a chance to engage with a local official with an issue that you don't have a stake in, I think is really important. It just builds that bridge and shows credibility. And then, you know, being able to tell your story. It's not just a business owner that you have, but you're employing people. You're bringing viable taxes to the community. You care. So I think all of those points are very, very salient, and I'm really pleased to hear all of y'all are engaging on that level. That's great.
Awesome. Now, Andrea, one thing that you mentioned, you said it's nerve-wracking sometimes build these relationships. And now for everybody, I kind of want to open up the floor at this point. What are some recommendations that you all have? We've discussed a bit, but what are steps should breweries take to start building these relationships with their local city governments, their local visitor and convention boards? What are some steps brewery owners should take?
Can I just jump in and say, because we were just over at one of our local breweries for like the, you know, umpteenth time that we've been over there, invite people over to where you're comfortable in your environment, and people love to see what's new, even if you've been there before. Just
have a slight echo on your end.
Oops, sorry, hang on. Was it like that before? Is that any better?
No.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like that before. I just want to make sure we get all your wisdom.
I don't want to bother you with a bad sound. Can you, is it any better?
Maybe just refresh and come back in. But for everyone else, I'd love to hear your steps brewery owners should be taking on, building these relationships. And Seth, I saw you unmute, so I'm going to pick on you right now.
Yeah, sometimes I talk too much, but I guess like all of us, we get passionate about this. The main thing is, go, be proactive. We all love what we do and we want to share it in a way that's going to benefit everyone, right? Go join a board, or a lot of these meetings you can go to. You don't have to be a member. You can go to and just meet people and go start conversations. And it's I feel like I'm repeating what everyone said, but it doesn't always have to be about what benefits you personally or your business personally. Just go get involved in your community, and everything will take care of itself. You will meet people. They will just say, hey, we want to come do an event with you. And then they will say, hey, we do want you to be on this committee. We need help. We need your input, because you've already shown that you're passionate. You care about the community. You care about people. And you want to see everyone succeed. So that's it. I mean, it takes energy. You got to go out there and get involved. I would say that's number one. And Andrea said it, be authentic, be genuine, just don't try to posture when you're there. Just be authentic about what you're trying to accomplish. So.
Now, Seth, you wear lots of different hats, including that head janitor that you mentioned earlier. How in the world do you have time to be on these committees, and why is it? I mean, you've already explained why it's worth your time, but
yeah,
how did you get to the point where you realized that the investment was definitely worth it?
We all find ways in our lives that we waste a lot of time, and it's taken time. I've had to really learn time management a lot better. But you prioritize. You look at your day and say, what can I do that's going to be the most impactful for all of the constituents and the people involved in the business and in the community? And then what can I delegate, and what's really not important? I think before I was wasting a lot of time doing stuff that I thought was important, but turned out to be trivial. So, it's just, I try to be a good planner and just focus on what's important. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's people. So.
I mean, even when you take like a business side of it, like everyone's going to market and what that impact of that market is. And I've progressed pretty far along, but when I was first starting out, and doing things like, there's members of the chamber that would show up to our facility, or members of Explore Asheville, which is our tourism board, that would show up our facility. And so they're spreading a lot of word. So when, COVID hit and we served outside in COVID for well over a year, it's 40 degrees outside and we're serving outside, and people showed up all the way out throughout the winter. And as much as we have great local people that showed up, a lot of it, as I continue these conversations, were people from the city government, people from the chamber that were showing up and supporting us. And so when you build these relationships, they're going to show up and they're going to spend where they think it's important. And so it can actually sometimes be a quicker way to build that loyal community by being in the community, because people will show up and support you. And so, there are a lot of things you can do. And sometimes those relationships are better than whatever ad you can put in any magazine.
Can you hear me now?
Back to you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Loud and clear. You sound great.
Okay, good. So I was just going to do I have a relationship tip. And it's that rule of 3. You guys may use it too. I use it in 2 ways. I say that you have to meet someone 3 times for them to completely give you their heart, unless you're a jerk, right? In which case they're not going to give it to you. But if you meet them 3 times, no matter what the pass is, by the 3rd time, you're an old friend. So keep that in mind when you see people. Stay nice. And by the 3rd time, people will feel like you guys are already in good, you're bonded. And then I use a rule of 3 too when I'm anywhere where I'm networking, that I can't leave anywhere until I've met 3 people and had 3 deep conversations, not passing conversations, but truly bonding conversations. I know a lot of people. So I would say employing these rules about human behavior and how we tend to bond and connect with people can go a long way. It's not just about, we're trying to all these things, that time management and what have you, but also just kind of keep in mind that you can let some things go. If you haven't met somebody 3 times, then just let it go. You'll see them again. You'll see them quickly, and you're forming that relationship. Not everything has to be done the one time you meet with somebody, because sometimes that's just too much pressure.
And I was going to say, just to go back, when you, if you haven't, because there are a lot of breweries, surprisingly, that have never contacted their tourism, economic development, or even their state or local representatives and delegates. First thing, please go online. There's hosts of different sites that will give you just plug in your address, and it will give you every single person that represents you for that area. Take note of that. Take note of their email addresses, if they have open public office hours, because I'm a big fan of taking my kids with me to those. So, for here, we have the state delegates in Annapolis and the senators as well, and they have open office hours. And if the door is open, I can go in. And I only know that because I used to work for them, but still, we pay taxes for those very reasons. So please, I don't care if they're Democratic, Republican, Green Party, introduce yourself to them. Let them know what you are up to, because it's not preferential treatment if they do not know about you. And they also have information for activities and grants and all kinds of things as well. So find out who those people are that are representing you for your local area, for your state. And have a talk with them. If you're nervous, most places have quarterly business roundtables. So, your local area, local ED will have a quarterly roundtable or something like that for if it's online or in person. Please attend that. And if you're like me and you get a little tongue-tied or anxious, my favorite way to open up is say, hey, I heard about you. I would love to pick your brain sometime, which is the truth, because everyone's a wealth of knowledge. You just don't know it. And so I would love to pick your brain sometime. Let's find a time to just briefly chat for a few minutes. And that opens that little door to say, hey, I'm open to speaking with you, and you can be open to speak with me. So please make sure that you are understanding who your reps are. Talk to them, hit them up. Anytime you have an event going on, there should be a list that you have of all of those people. Shoot them that email. Let them know, here's what we have going on weekly. Here's what we have going on next month, because again, they're always looking for things to tout. So those will be some of the things I will also do if you've never reached out to any of them.
Tranice, how has walking into those offices, helped your brewery out?
Oh gosh. Well, I think I was in the same situation as Seth. So we didn't have any laws to have a craft brewery. So it absolutely helped to take my 2 young little girls with me and say, listen, we've been paying rent on this place for almost a year. I would hate for the American dream not to apply to me and my family. We have a great thing. The community's behind us. We're going to help give you some tax money, and everyone's going to love this county because you played a part in helping me play a part in making something big. We had our permits the next day. So
it's all about being nice to people, right?
That's right. And what they don't know, so don't take it personal. Please do not take it personal or assume that they just hate your guts because you just happen to be the person they want to pick on. It usually is not like that. More than likely, it's not like that. So continue to reach out to them. Please do.
Tranice, I think that's great advice. And I just wanted to add on, I think there is a natural human tendency when you're approaching something new that's unfamiliar, that to feel like you have to be as knowledgeable as possible. And you guys are small business owners. There's never enough. 30 hours in a day doesn't even begin to help. So, I think when I get this question about how do you start, I advise people to first off start as local as possible, find out who your local district one is, and then target the at-larges because they represent you too. And don't worry about knowing everything they do. Invite them in and just say, I'm a business in your community. I have no agenda. Just want to invite you in. You make it about giving a quick tour, letting you know the people you employ, and then ask them. Yeah. I want to get more involved, and I don't know how to get my arms around this city, this county. What are the best needs that you see right now as a city, as a community where I can serve and give back? And that way it takes the onus off of you to feel like you have to know every board, every commission, every avenue to connect. And they don't ever get that ask. They get 1,000 emails a day with complaints and why aren't you doing enough for me? But having someone come in to saying, what can I do to help you when you don't have an agenda, that's just hugely valuable. So if you're starting new, That's what I tell people. Don't be intimidated and don't feel like you have to know. You do know your business and you love your cities. Let that go first and then the rest will flow.
Love your city. I like it. Tranice, something to say?
No, I was just thinking I saw
sorry.
that with Leah when we were doing the Asheville Beer Week, and we kind of connected with Black Wall Street. And, I'm talking to certain people, and I'm just, again, stereotyping, just knew they wouldn't know Leah. And they were like, oh my God, you know Leah? And I'm like, yeah, I know Leah, you know Leah. She's like, oh, she's amazing. And, we'll do anything, because again, she had really she grinded hard. And I've heard
Brag
so
on
many
Leah for a second.
stories.
What did she do? Tell me
Leah.
about that.
Woo.
Tranice, what did she do?
So we wanted to just really connect the local government and let them know, hey, we're going to tag team and have Black Wall Street, and we're going to have Asheville Beer Week, and we're going to just mash it up and have a great ass time. And Leah was, again, I think she had already stepped down, but same thing, because she had did so much groundwork. She said, hey, here's the person you need to talk to in the tourism office. Let me make sure that I introduce you to. Here's so-and-so. Who would be a great person to have to come out and partner with. Here's this person. And anybody we spoke with, when we said Leah's name, that was it. They were on board. So I agree with Andrea and as everyone else. Like, if you are really in that community and you're really doing that work, there's nothing you can't accomplish. It really isn't. And I saw that with Leah.
I want to shout out Tranice, because I know with the folks who organized Black Wall Street and the celebration there, she was a huge help in getting them funding through the Brewers Association for one of the festival grants. And just like helping them down that path with information I didn't have access to. So really, I think getting outside of your beer bubble and getting outside of your community bubble and engaging in relationships with other people, as a recovering perfectionist, one of my hardest life lessons is that you can't be and see and do all of the things. You're one person. And so knowing the person who knows the things or the people who know the things is invaluable in terms of saving your time, saving your sanity. Branch out.
I love it. I didn't realize you two connected prior. That's amazing. Now, looking at everyone on the brewery side of things right now, how many holiday parties are you hosting for local city organizations? Anybody? Seth's got 2. Trey, you got any? Maybe they're coming. Sorry to put you on.
I'm hiding for the holidays.
I respect that as well. We all need a little break. Now, you all have given some examples of how you engage from both sides with breweries. I'd love to hear either a success story, something that you haven't mentioned yet that you're really proud about, how you've partnered with the local brewery to see greater success together, or the other side of things, if you have a lesson you learned for maybe not engaging, or a relationship that you had that didn't go as planned. I'd love to hear something you can drop to everyone else listening today. Does anybody have something you're proud of and would like to share? I know someone has a relationship with a brewery that they're proud of.
I'm going to say again, when I come from an environmental background, and we have a place called Maddows Bay here in Charles County. It's sacred, it's protected through NOAA, and it's a wonderful place, kayaking, whatever, it's awesome. But again, I wanted to make sure that it had cleanup funds, and my children love that place. So first thing, again, we reached out to tourism board. We want to create awareness of this place. We want people to take care of it, but we also want to have funds for the organization who cleans it. And they were willing, again, to give us some grant funds. We paid a local tattoo artist. It's owned by all women, LGBTQIA as well. And they did the artwork for us. They did the watercoloring. So we were able to get our printing done, pay for our brews, and make sure that we paid them a proper amount, not just, throw a little something at them, but pay them what they were actually worth. And then we did the same thing with an older woman who does photography and videography, same thing. So they gave us the grant money to pay those people, and also pay for some of our supplies. And we let the county residents vote on what style it would be, what the name would be. And again, just drawing more awareness to the county, but also to that Maddows Bay area. And it was an excellent program. So another fun example.
I love it, Tranice. One of the things I've learned from you is look for all of these grants that are available to your business. Meg, is there something like you'd like to throw in?
I was just going to restate that the digital tool that we recently developed was great because when we interact with breweries, larger, small, we're able to give them numbers. Like we can prove our the way that we send both locals and visitors to them through this pass, where they're coming from, things that are hopefully valuable to the brewers. And so that is also, like I said, that's been a great opportunity for us to increase our engagement. Because we are, I mean, probably your cities are the same. We are always bringing new breweries online. And it's a way for us to walk in the door and say, hey, join this community. These are the sort of stats we're able to give you and the kind of traffic we're able to drive. And that's just as an entry point. Obviously, bring travel writers to breweries, conventions and that kind of traffic to breweries too is something that will happen, as the opportunities arise. But at least from the beginning, we can show straight up numbers that educate brewers on where people are coming from and moving around the brewing community. So that's, I think we can give a thing of value, and then we've got more of a community.
Now, Meg, your audio's a little funky right now. We got everything you just said. It's totally fine.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. But Meg and Andrea, I think it speaks very highly of what you were both doing when local breweries tell me that we have to interact with you all. Brewery in Milwaukee, I was talking to Henry at Mobcraft the other day. He's like, you have to talk to the Visit Milwaukee board. You have to engage. And, when you have breweries in Nashville saying, Andrea, Arnold, and Visit Music City, you have to talk to them because they're doing big things for our beer community. I mean, it just speaks to the value that you're providing. So I couldn't encourage breweries to just reach out.
Yeah.
Now, as we wind down this conversation, I like to give everybody an actionable takeaway. We can talk all day long about the value in building these relationships, but when people finish listening to this call with the seven of us right now, what is something they should do as soon as they finish listening? Is there anything that is urgent and important to them that'll help them out?
Go meet your CVB folks.
Find one way to engage that is within your comfort level. So whether that's going to a CVB, we have quarterly partner gatherings with our local CVB where you can attend. There's usually beer and wine served. So if you need to take the nervousness, the edge off, you can do that. Or just like Tranice said, figuring out who you need to talk to, who represents your community. If that's where you're at today, go for it. Just find one person that you should be talking to.
Hey, Andrew, can I add one more thing?
No, Seth, you cannot.
All right, I'm out.
I always want to hear what you have to say. Bring it.
Well, I just, sometimes you may feel uncomfortable because you don't know what you offer and you don't always want to be taking away. We had a really bad ice storm a couple of years ago, and because we had already built relationships, we had thousands of gallons in our reservoirs in the brewery, and the water plant in our city shut down because most people lost electricity, and so there was no water, including the power plant. And so we had all of this water that we gave back to the city, to nursing homes and some schools. And, at the end of it, this old lady she baked me a pie and said, thank you. I mean, but we have a lot to offer as breweries, and sometimes we don't realize just the capital that we bring as being a good part of the community. And so we have a lot to share. And so when we go to the CBB, when we go to the local organizations, it is absolutely a two-way street, and we can help each other. And I think that's where the successes happen. So don't be afraid. Yeah, because I know, Leah, when I walked into some of these rooms, you're like, I don't know anybody. I don't know what to say. I don't want to feel like I'm a leech. And I'm just like, hey, where's a grant that I can get? When you start the conversations, and on the third conversation at least, you're going to find ways that you can work together. So don't be afraid. Jump in.
I love that, Seth. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else have that action item that brewery owners and managers need to be doing as soon as they finish listening to this?
If you haven't already, I would say establishing a relationship with a nonprofit that you feel like does something really great in your community. and provide them with the support they need. A lot of times it's just space. We've had a lot of retreats where, people are always looking for a space to meet. So we do retreats where we give the room for free, and they always walk out and they're just like, oh man, it was so great. And, they're there early in the morning. It's 9 to 3 in the morning when we're not open anyway. And it just provides them with an opportunity to kind of be somewhere that they can explore their ideas and take on with it. But I think, being aligned with the nonprofit really helps you connect with the community.
Absolutely. Meg or Andrea, anything you'd like to add?
I will happily add my challenge to everyone on this call, and it sounds like all of you guys are already, again, on it. But I would target a full list and target 2 people a week, 2 elected officials, to call them or email them, thank them for their service, invite them to your business, ask them for help and how to give back, and then make it a commitment just to find some way to engage monthly. Send them a little thank you or some email, just connect. That's my challenge.
Oh, Andrea, I love that one.
So good advice from everyone else. And this is not particularly deep, but it is something that I think about all the time. When you are talking with somebody, when you walk into a room, make certain that you always introduce yourself and say where you're from. Even if it's really quick, I could not have known somebody for 20 years, but sometimes when we're out of context, people don't remember who we are, and your conversation will go deeper quicker if you take that uncomfortableness out of the way. Don't make them have to glance at your name tag secretly because they don't want to offend you. Like, literally walk up to people and say, hey, I'm Meg, visit Milwaukee. And then they go, oh, I know you. Oh my God, I can't believe you're introducing yourself to me. It's like, well, you never know. And just get it out of the way. Always remind people your name in a memorable way and where you're from, and then go on with your conversation. And it will just really help you have effective conversations. And nobody does it. It drives me insane. So I say this because because when I go to these networking things, I know a ton of people, and I love everybody. I don't want to offend anyone, but sometimes, I'm getting older. It comes at me fast. Keeping all those names and people who change jobs and all that kind of stuff. So reminding people who you are and where you're from will help you make a lot quick work of what you want to dive into and talk about.
Awesome. Great insight there. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation today. Leah, Seth, Lucious, Tranice, Andrea, and Meg, we had a very, very full panel today. You all gave so much wisdom. I look forward to sharing beers again with many of you and seeing many of you for the first time very soon. Meg, we're excited to be in Milwaukee next June 19th to 21st. So if you want to come hang out with Meg, Seth, that I get that you're coming, Tranice, maybe. Everyone else, I hope to see you there for CBP Connects Milwaukee next June 19th to 21st. But I appreciate all of you. Thanks for being here today. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
See you in Milwaukee. Can't wait.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.